As far as the Senate this year, it's going to be a little different in the Senate this year. There won't be a Senate pro temporary anymore. There's going to be the Lieutenant Governor will no longer preside over the Senate due to the fact that the Governor and Lieutenant Governor now run on the same ticket. That we will elect a new president of the Senate on the first day of, probably the first day of session. And right now that looks like it's going to be Harvey Picker out of Gaffney. So at least the upstate's going to have one person. Take over all the appointment powers that the Senate pro tempore has. And actually, he will not serve, he can't serve as chairman of any standing committee, but he can still serve on committees. So what that'll mean, he's now chairman of the Higher Education Committee. That kind of starts a domino effect. And the way things work in the Senate, it's all on seniority. And every 4 years when we're elected, we literally go down the list of seniority and you pick the 5 committees. Each senator serves on 5 committees. And we pick the 5 committees that we would like to be on, or what's left when it gets down to like me. But, this year we're going to have to do that kind of in mid-season. We're going to have to actually repick all our committees. We're actually going to repick our seating. Everything in the Senate, like I said, is on seniority. And when this really hit me, we all have our caucuses. Each house has a Republican caucus and a Democratic caucus. And, the first time I ever went into the Senate caucus, they actually assigned seating in the Republican caucus in the Senate by seniority. So that was a little different. You didn't just walk in and sit down. So, but it's a good system. I like it. I like the seniority system. I think it's fair. I think it works out well. This year's big issues, you hear a lot about education. You hear a lot about teacher pay, hear a lot about other things with education. My personal opinion, what we need to do with education, we need to free our teachers up. Let them teach. Do away with half all this testing you have to do all the time. Let's let them teach. They know how to teach. They know their jobs, just like you folks. As I say about everybody in the General Assembly, we know a little bit about a lot of things. But when it comes down to a certain area, that's where we need to hear from y'all, and that's where we lean on y'all. Everybody in this room's got a different area of expertise, and that's where we need to hear from y'all. And same way with education. One thing I can say, being chairman of this delegation for the last 200 years, I can say that, I can say that this delegation is open to suggestion, and we're open to, if you call us, email us, please email us. It's the easiest thing in the world because we're hard to catch. We're extremely busy. That's not an excuse as far as a call. You leave us a message, we'll call you back. But if you can email us, that's the most wonderful thing in the world that's ever happened with technology. And the reason I say that, if you're having a problem with something in state government or got an issue that you need addressed, when you send me that email, that's in your words. I don't have to booger up the explanation somewhere in the meantime when I'm trying to go to somebody. I can forward that email straight to the person who can help you. And I can't stress enough. And I also can't stress enough, a lot of people say, oh, I'm not going to call. I'm not going to call them. That's what we're there for. Call us. We need to hear from you. Can't stress out enough. Every year, Greg Wilson and all of them, the paper will call and say, what's your #1 priority for this year? As far as Mike Gamble, it's the same thing every year. It's constituent service. That's the one thing Mike Gamble's got control over. Taxes, jobs, and education. It's going to take me and 23 of my friends in the Senate and the House. They're going to have 62 people to go along with them to get all that done. But constituent service is the one thing that we can handle, and we can get you an answer. Might not always be the answer you want to hear, but we'll get you the right answer. And I think that's all we can ask of our public officials.
Wow. I think Mike pretty much summed up a lot of what y'all been reading, what's going on. I think last year was dictated by energy policy. I mean, I think that's still somewhat out there on the horizon. I don't think that's over yet. I think you're going to see a lot of things dealing with solar. I don't think Santee Cooper's over yet. I think that's still a political football that's being kicked around a lot. I know the SCANA deal, I think, went through yesterday, or at least the first of the year. You had Dominion deal was finally settled with that, and that's a good thing to get that one put to bed. Let private companies actually take care of the situation, not government. I think that's kind of what this chamber and everything else is about. Unfortunately, last year we got, last session settled down with the fact that government got involved in telling business what to do, what not to do. But I'm glad to see that actually was somewhat settled, and hopefully Santee Cooper will be settled pretty soon. It is a state agency. But I think solar is probably one of the biggest things that has been around for a while, is going to continue to be around, because there's a lot of money to put into trying to get solar panels on rooftops, get tax credits. So I think once again, we'll continue to do things with the tax base, where we talk out of one side of the mouth about how we need to fix it, the other side we'll be cutting it away. Those things will never go away, I guess, as long as we got politics. But I do think education will be out there as well. We've got a lot of things going. Have been working on for a number of years with Holly and the Career Center with what we got to do with workforce. Things are changing. I think with the first of the year, you saw a lot of different states going in with minimum wages going up. That's something that South Carolina hasn't done. We leave that back to the employer. And then while Michael, you were at the hospital, we all had changes coming in now about solar news, basically with, I guess, the Affordable Care Act, everything Washington was doing with the mandates on them, but coming out, now they got to start putting out there the prices of healthcare, so you can start shopping healthcare around, which unfortunately I think if you're within networks, that it would do you a whole lot of good to go shopping if you're out of network, so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So those are things that I think that on the LCI we'll have to work on the insurance side of things about networks, this whole pricing thing, and the portability and doing different sorts of things, as well as the energy policy. I'm going to continue to work on things I've always done with workforce and education. I think that's important, as well as our local government officials in here. I think I saw Craig, the other county council or city council. I mean, saw city council over here as well. Yeah, council. Yeah, and but to deal with the local government fund is something we've been kicking around for a number of years. Sent bills to the Senate that died, but we got another one coming back this year. Hopefully, it'll do something to work to fix that. That will take it once and for all.
Thank you. I'm Ann Thayer, and I represent House District 9, which goes from Main Street over all the way to the Greenville County line, so I sort of have an unusual district. I was just whispering to Chairman White that he needed to talk about his education piece. He's been working on that for many, many years, and I think we'll see some of that come out this year, and look forward to that. I serve on labor, commerce, and insurance. He just talked about that a little bit. LCI is what he called it. One of the things that I haven't even had the opportunity to tell my delegation yet, I got sent there last session, and I've actually been asked to chair a subcommittee. So I'm actually really excited about that. I'm not at liberty to say which one just yet. It'll come out next week, but it'll certainly be a learning curve for me, and I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and get to work on that. So really excited about that. I also serve on the Rules Committee, and I was recently reappointed to the Tax Reform Committee, which I think a lot of you here that are members of the chamber are very familiar with that, because they're working on a plan as well. We started that committee, I guess, about a year and a half ago, and the chairman of the committee ran for Congress. He lost that bid, but while he was running for Congress, everything just sort of fell down on the Tax Reform Committee. But it's interesting because most of the things that the chamber has brought to us actually lines up with what it is that we're trying to do. So super excited about getting back in there and working on that as well. Locally, some of the things that I also serve on is the delegation rep for the chamber, and I come to all their policy council meetings, or as many as I can, I guess I should say. I serve on the ANATS Transportation Committee, the County Transportation Committee, the Appalachian Council of Government, and then to try and keep all of you informed, I do 2 articles to just talk about how we're spending your money and about the different laws that we're making in Columbia. One of the things I think they usually like for us to talk about are bills that we are working on this year. I pre-filed 2 bills. Senator Gambrell and I both did the first one. He did it in the Senate and I did the House, and that's just a local Belzer bill. I did a human trafficking bill. I think you'll see a whole lot more about that. The paper called yesterday, and I think they're going to do a story on that one. Also working on a homestead exemption bill that's in draft, and a transportation bill. So busy working on those kind of things. Education, I know, increase in judges' pay. I think that's gonna be another big thing that we deal with. We have $1 billion to go back and spend, so everyone will have their hand out. Anyway, I'm sure it'll be an interesting time. In my spare time, I own 2 companies. I manage my husband's chiropractic office, have 3 kids, and expecting my first grandbaby. So really looking forward to an exciting year in the Thayer household. But much like Senator Gambrell said, you know what, we're busy. We're really busy, but it's not about us, it's about you, and we're here to serve you. And if it matters to you, it matters to us. So even if you think, well, maybe that's not that important, pick up that phone and call us anyway. I tell you what, I write my best legislation that comes from people like you. So I'm here to help you. Anything that you need, I have a stack of business cards with me, so if you don't have my contact information, please get with me and get that. Thank you, and thank you for the honor to serve.
It's great to be here. It's great to start off a new year, a new session with you guys. I certainly concur with my colleagues had to say. One thing I'll add that they didn't really touch on topic-wise that you're probably going to see in the coming year, and as you probably know, this is an issue that has been near and dear to me that I've been involved with, is the issue of medical cannabis. So we're still working on that. We made progress on that. It may go to a different committee this year, but we're going to be picking up where we left off last year, and I do think that that would be a huge benefit if done right. And there's been a lot of time and effort put into it to make sure that it's done right, so that it's going to benefit the people that it's intended to benefit. And one thing that you're seeing in other states is, it's not a gravy train. Even if you open it wide open, you legalize marijuana recreationally and you tax it to the hilt, I mean, you still create a black market just because street prices will be cheaper than the taxes that are being paid and everything. So what we want here in South Carolina, I think what the majority of people want, is legitimate access to medicine, and that's what our focus is. And so we want to make sure that every tool in the toolbox is at a patient's disposal, especially when your life is at stake. And I've got a number of constituents in my district, and from people all over Anderson, all over the state, really, that are just really crying out for this, especially with opioids becoming harder and harder to get.
This year I have changed committees. Last year I was on Education and Public Works, and this year I'm on LCI with Ann and Craig, and we're doing, it's going to be a new venture for me there. As she said, we don't know what subcommittees we're on there yet. I'm also on legislative oversight and sub-chairing the Health and Health Regulations committee there, which is, DHHS and I assume part of DHEC and some stuff like that. But I remain on the opioid committee, the study committee, which has already put out about 17 or 18 bills, and I foresee a few more coming out this year. Hopefully we'll get pretty close, but as we go further, we get into issues with the methadone and Suboxone clinics. It's not as pretty and clean as you think it is. There's some real issues there, and we don't want to drop the ball when we have an opportunity to do something. It's not about, at that point, business. It's about people's lives. So we're trying to do something that'll make a big difference there. I agree with my colleagues. I think education is going to be a big deal this year. And since most of you are in either nonprofits or business, you understand the value of an educated workforce. In our area, we are very fortunate to have the career centers and to have Tri-County Technical College. Not every area has what we have. We're very fortunate. We need to make sure that those opportunities are out there. And I'm a big proponent of public education. But I believe we need to do some reforms. We need to look at some other things, how the money's spent. And as Senator Gambrell said earlier, let the teachers teach. Let the children learn. Put the money in the classroom. I'm not worried about grandiose buildings, and I'm not worried about program after program. I'm worried about kids learning in the classroom. and teachers being having the ability to afford to teach. So a lot of things I think like that are going to be coming forward.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. I'm Wes Cox. I'm the new representative from District 10. That's the northern part of Anderson County, White Plains, Piedmont, Powdersville. Also cover part of Pickens County and Greenville County as well. I'm excited to be here. I'm glad to step up and serve, and I'm looking forward to working with each and every one of you. With being new, I know the issues that are coming down the pipe and everything that's coming back. I sort of wanted to talk to you a little bit about kind of who I am, what I'm looking at doing, and then also about advocacy, what you can do. Going a little bit deeper than what everybody has said here to help us. As far as, I'm excited about service. I'm looking forward to serving and stepping up to the plate. When we're looking at these issues, I think it's important that we look at them through the prism of, are there community solutions or are there state solutions? Can we do things at home and in our community to effectively combat these issues, or do we need a statewide solution? Because the more Anderson control we have, the better off we are. The more Anderson solutions, I think, are better off. And so we don't want the state stepping on the local community and doing things like that. Also, when we're looking at issues and solutions, let's make sure that we're actually solving the problem. Let's make sure that we're not just putting something on paper, running it through, and then 10 years down the road, we've got an even bigger problem. I think one of the things the legislators started doing is sunsetting a lot of bills, sunsetting some funding issues, so that we do have to take it back off the shelf and look at it. There are a lot of things in the issue that in the state that probably need to come off the shelf and look at. We're finally going to look at Santee Cooper this year. That's a energy company the state's been running since the New Deal, so we'll have to deal with that. Act 388, nobody's talked about it this morning, but it needs to come off the shelf and be reviewed. That's going to take some people that are ready to get yelled at to look at and things, but I think now is the time to do that. And when we're talking about education funding and from a state level, we've also got to look at it at a local level, and that's where Act 388 comes into play. I don't want to take up all the time, even though that's what I was instructed to do, so we don't have time for questions. But let's talk about advocacy for a minute and what you can do to help us. I mean, we're getting stuff from all over. We're a mile long and about 10 inches deep on everything, whereas these are your businesses, these are your lives, and you're a mile deep on everything. Let us know. If you see something coming across the board that's going to affect your business, affect your family, let us know. Talk to us about it and how it's going to affect you. Let us come out to your business, your workplace. The other day I went out to the Career and Technology Center with Holly Harrell. And it's phenomenal out there. If you haven't gone out there to see what they're doing, go. I'm sure they'd be glad to have you. But I thought I knew what they did, but just walking around and seeing everything and the opportunities, it's really astounding. But without walking out there and being invited, I wouldn't have known half of the stuff. So don't be afraid to call us, and at least me anyway, and let me come to your business, let me come to your work and see what you've got going on and how we can help you.